You're not even watching this. I know because you've got your kickoff events going. You've got your convocation. The balloons are just bright and the stage is set. The lights are perfect. Your people are looking a lot less uh, tattered than they were last spring. Tis the season for much to celebrate, boss. Yeah, and guess what? Labor Day weekend is coming. Uh-huh. Which is kind of the official trigger for all things school and campus after. This is the fun stuff. This is the rah-rah. But the real stuff's going to hit on Tuesday. Right? Many of you are already in session. I get that. I get that. But most of you are waiting until Tuesday, right? Where, oh my goodness, we thought the bus routes were pretty well established, and you have to go and kind of rethread all of that work. And you thought the nutritional program had it all pretty well dialed in for the number of students. And then, yeah, you're serving bologna sandwiches to kids on the first day, but you're going to get through it. You're going to get through it. That's the joy. But isn't this just a fun time? I saw a post from a friend on LinkedIn yesterday saying that commencement was the absolute favorite day, but the other day is convocation. Just kicking off the year. Yeah, we got to delight in those. Those were my best days also as I look back. But all the stuff in the middle, yeah, that's where we need you. We don't really need you to stand on the stage and talk about just the woo-woo positive, all the good things that are going to be happening. We need you to be stepping into the octagon. Yeah, in those middle days, all of them, right? And here's when this thing. I'm sorry. I receive gifts every once in a while, and this one was a fun one. That was a fun one. Yeah. When your mind is still positive because you're so missional serving, but the things around you, the noise around you, the situations are causing for to drop. Yeah. You're going to have crisis this year. And I think this year, I'm just being, I'm a realist. I'm one that sees what isn't yet, but where we were with how technology is processing information last spring, where we were to where we are today, 3 months later, 2.8 months later, standard deviations beyond where we were last spring. That's the reality. So take that and scope that now across the whole of the academic year. Yeah, I think education is going to look a lot different kicking off the year next year. And what if I told you that the biggest crisis in education isn't going to be what you think it is? Yes, there's a lot of cray-cray going on in the public domain of politics. That's not going away. That's just not going to go away. We got to influence that as much as we can, right? The teacher shortage, I don't think that's going away. This burnout epidemic happening in big proportion, right? The administrative chaos. What if all of that was just the perfect storm, the absolute perfect storm for us? I'm going to say something right now that'll probably make you incredibly uncomfortable, especially if you're the CEO of your campus, college, university, district, maybe a principal or just a district leader watching this right now. But after working with thousands of educational leaders, I believe this conversation could save public education or expose it. Why you should never been in this sector in the first place. So, buckle up, buckle up. Last spring, I got a text from a friend. Been working with them for a while. I've been coaching them. She just finished her third consecutive, just 14-hour day. And you're saying, yeah, that's kind of the norm, isn't it? The message simply says, "Yo, Joe, I feel like I'm drowning." That was yesterday. I am drowning that in my own system, right? And the the weighty question was, when did education become about everything except educating? Yeah, I kind of stared at that text and feeling that crushing weight in my chest because I realized she was experiencing what I call just this great sort. That's what's happening. It's a magnificent disruption that's already beginning to separate the masterful educators who belong in public education from those who it was never meant for. Sorry, not sorry. I think if you're so in love with your mission, as I am, you have to have the courage to be disliked. And if you didn't like that comment, I'm so in love with the mission of public education. Okay. So here's what's really at stake. It's about just the transformation that needs to happen in education more drastically than anything since Horace Mann opened the first public school in 1837. Yeah, do some of your own research. I think that's it's an insurance company out there these days. There's some free advertisement. Come on, give me some kickback, Horace Mann Insurance. Um, but it's also a man that I think was a visionary who had the right essence, had the right character, had the right values, had the right principles. Yeah, for doing what he did. And so while everybody's just arguing about whether this is good or that is bad, the sorting's already begun, folks, right? You're allowed to feel just mortified by this. Every educational leader that I've talked to, um, I think it's happening more in the leadership ranks. I respect has felt exactly what you're feeling when their world really just shifts dramatically. But here's what I need. I need you to understand that your fear might be telling you exactly what you need to know about where you stand in this revolution, this transformation. Okay. So let's be just brutally honest about where we are. 23% of teachers left their school in 24-25, just out the back door. Yeah. If teacher turnover, think about this. If it were a disease, I think it would have been declared a national emergency. Yeah, we would. When I say we called the National Guard, that just means something altogether differently today, doesn't it? Yeah, but it's a big deal. That a quarter of our teachers out the back door. But another data point that I've been looking at, it's just stopped me cold. In fact, I thought about it last night before I could go to bed, go to sleep. I think it kind of passes the whoa test. There's wow that's going on right now during kickoff, but it's the whoa. Stop, just like, I got to take a breath. The average teacher, that the average teacher lasts shorter than their position than the average smartphone lasts in my pocket. 3.2 years for a teacher. Smartphone, about 4 years, and I'm going to upgrade. Okay. So I think we're more thoughtful about upgrading our phones than supporting our educators. Just saying. I'm just going to say. But here's what the headlines that you're reading, it's not telling you. While everybody's just doing this scurry dance, just panicking about teacher shortages, I discovered something remarkable. And hear this. The right people are staying. It's not that we have this teacher, it is a real thing, but we got to celebrate what's right in the world. And my beloved Miss Becky is a school teacher, and she raced off to be a part of her full district kickoff today, wearing her school jersey. It was beautiful. She's staying. She's not going anywhere. I know I look like I'm still in my late 30s. She's not either. She's not going anywhere. 94% of educational technology, they see that AI's the positive potential. It's going to be a good thing. In fact, MIT just wrote on AI reducing brain activity in memory areas by about 25 to 40%, but only if you use it wrongly, right? So if here's the translation, because I got to take this research and put it into simple terms. If you're using AI as a crutch, you're becoming less capable. But if you're using AI as a tool, right, you're becoming tool, the good kind. You're becoming really, literally superhuman. So, how many of you right now are watching this thinking, finally, someone understands what's really happening? How many of you have really felt like you're working hard? I can't pedal any faster, boss. Can't pedal any harder than I've ever done, but getting further from education's real purpose. Yeah, plug your nose because it does kind of stink. We're working so hard on things that don't matter the most. I've really, it was a pattern when I stepped out of the system in 2016. It's a pattern then. I think it's a well-worn pattern today. I've seen it across every educational system from college campuses to community colleges to universities to school district. Could be rural, could be suburban. The system isn't broken. The system it's just sorting itself right now. I still think the system is needing a lot of work. But think about it's really just going through a reset. Yeah, maybe this framework is starting to challenge how you've been thinking just about the current educational crisis. Go ahead and drop a comment below if you're seeing that sorting happening in your own district or your own campus. And maybe if you're wondering where you stand on this transformation. I offer complimentary just jam sessions. I call them virtual coffees. Um, they happen a couple times each day where we just get together and we talk shop. Yeah. How are you thriving in this new landscape? I'd love to talk to you because this stuff shapes the next live stream. So go ahead and land a few comments down there. But back to just what I'd rediscovered, studying just in this transformation, the purpose AI alignment, this framework, it completely contradicts what every educational leadership book that I've learned from that teaches us about change management. So think about it. When you think brain science, neuroscience, it changes lots of stuff. It changes how we see the world, right? How we interact with the world. Anthropic, which is a tool that I use for AI. That CEO of Anthropic actually predicts that nearly half of entry level jobs could be eliminated within 5 years. You've seen the same, and you've kind of maybe just like blown right past that to go, I think that's more make believe. Other MIT researchers are finding something beautiful. As AI tools, continue to evolve, it forces your brain to choose, actually, right? It forces either one or the other. It forces dependency, like, oh my gosh, my internet's down. I can't be useful today. Or enhancement, like, oh, that's a bummer. I've got some really good thoughts here, and I wanted to connect some of those thoughts to other people's thoughts. Yeah, the research really reveals why this sorting it's just so perfect right now. AI, it just eliminates the tasks that shouldn't define education while really just amplifying the best work that matters most. Right? It's like having just a high quality control system that automatically identifies who's aligned with education's true purpose. That's what it's given us. Yeah, maybe on the left side here, you've got just the data entry, just the content recycling, just the meeting multiplication folks, kind of that curriculum control. That's the left side. And folks, these folks over here, maybe not today because it's still kickoff and you're getting free donuts. Uh-huh. And the association might be giving you that free lunch today, but they're going to struggle. These are the folks, keep an eye on them. They're going to struggle. You've got the folks over here, okay? Just your relationship building, your learning architecture, your visionaries, your vision keepers, right? Your student advocacy. This group over here, watch them. They're going to have a lot more energy this year than this group over here. Yeah, they're going to be thriving in this new frontier. So, Stanford's organizational research shows that when AI handles routine cognitive tasks, human brain capacity for creative problem solving increases by 60%. Hear that loud and clear. Those that are just gripped by fear because this AI tool is doing it better than I can do it. Fear and creativity, they don't mix. They do not mix. But those that see AI as an enhancement to the brilliance that you're already bringing to the game, that's a whole different story, right? But here's the key: only if you're already focused on inherently human work, right? If you're in education because you are a real live, vulnerable human wanting to connect well to bring out the potential of real live other humans, yeah, you're well placed and you ain't going nowhere. Okay. I think this just explains why some educators are becoming just superhuman, right? While others are becoming really irrelevant. hmm Some folks are coming to mind in both of those camps, perhaps. It's not the technology, it's about alignment. It's about alignment with purpose. So, last spring, 3 months ago, working with the principal, I'm going to call her Sarah, right? She's drowning in data reports, just the compliance stuff, the documentation, the endless email. She told me, Joe, I became a principal to impact student learning, but I spend she said 80% of her time on things that have nothing to do with kids. Yeah. Then she made a decision. It wasn't that I had this wisdom for her, but wow, things were changing greatly at the time. And there were new tools that were readily available, most of them for free. It changed a lot, right? Instead of fighting AI, she embraced it strategically. Actually, she used AI to handle her weekly data reports that she sent out to her building leadership team, to automate her compliance documentation and summarize many of her email chains. And what happened next? It wasn't transformational, but it was just better. Isn't it? Wouldn't that be great if we could just get a little tailwind? Finally, I can run the offense, right? And it kind of contradicts everything we've been told about educational leadership. Sarah suddenly had 15 extra hours in her week. I promise you. I promise you. I'm fully lucid right now. 15 extra hours is what she told me. But instead of going home early, she did something radical. She started doing what principals need to be doing: walking the hallway, making those classroom visits, doing rounds, if you will, looking at instructional best practices, focusing on her best teachers and learning from them and scaling up and building that cohesion and the culture that school and students deserve. Yeah, she used those hours to reclaim being a principal, right? And wow, teacher retention, actually, it's going to go up for her. It's still too early to be defining this. Student engagement scores, it's going to go up. We just know that to be true because the science backs it up, right? So here's why this works in the cognitive level. When leaders operate from their zones of genius instead of just trying to survive, they literally rewire their neural pathways for excellence. Sarah wasn't just more productive, she was more creative. She was more innovative. She was filled with joy. And because of that, she was quite inspiring and her influence began to grow. Wouldn't that be great? So, her protocol, just from recall, I've broken this down. First, we had to take an audit, had to identify the routine tasks the AI could handle better. And we just said three. Let's just not go crazy. What are three tasks that AI could handle better than you, Sarah? And the data analysis, the report generation, some of the email stuff, and just overall scheduling. Boom, give it away now. Uh-huh. Two, there was just this recommitment to purpose and reclaiming that space, right? It had to calculate the hours that she would save and commit them to really the original design of what that principal was supposed to be doing. What is the work to be done as a principal? The next step was just the human amplification to focus on that reclaimed time on what only humans can do, right? That inspire, connect well, build relationships, solve complex problems that aren't part of the algorithm. Yeah. And recommit to that. And then the fourth was just this ripple measurement of tracking the impact on student outcomes, not just the efficiency metrics, but overall qualitative metrics as well. And the last is still in motion. That's just that cultural transformation where she's modeling something that the entire organization is going, whoa, wait a second. You look to be a little liberated. What's going on? So she's building that within her infrastructure. But the most powerful part, when Sarah begins this transformation process, her leadership approach, it gave her just her entire staff the permission to do the same. Why get locked into this traditional where teachers are going to quit, burnout levels are at an all-time high? Teachers started to use AI for lesson planning. They could focus on relationship building, right? Counselors automated routine paperwork. Yes, counselors using AI. That's not a oxymoron, right? Counselors using AI to spend more time with students who need the support. The whole school culture shifted from this survival mode where just bags under the eye was just the new makeup routine to excellence mode. Okay, where eyes were wide open to what is possible and standards kept being leveled up. And the students, they went from being managed, having to manage students, to being genuinely inspired. That's what happens when healthy people move in and begin to really lead the organization, not just manage it. So, how's this landing with you in your current leadership reality right now? Are you recognizing yourself at all in Sarah's story, her transformation? Go ahead and share in the chat. I would love to sort through that and kind of pick out the gems there. What surprised you most about this approach? What is just so easily accessible, and why aren't you doing that? Right? Is this just stirring something in you that you maybe want to explore? Um, if you're still calling it A1, maybe that's your first step. AI. There's a whole lot of leadership enhancement tools out there. Yeah, go and maybe explore a little bit over your Labor Day weekend. But if you don't address just this alignment with transformation, here's inevitably what's going to happen. Demand is a real thing. Yeah, I'm not going to go there, but it's a real thing. You're just going to keep trying to solve these 21st century challenges with 20th century approaches, right? And your high capacity people will be going, what? This is like great grandma's old recipe that we're still using here. Yeah, you're going to burn out. You're just going to try to compete with all the machines out there in the machine work while neglecting all of the human work because you're just stuck. The stakes, they're going to go deeper than just personal exhaustion. I know that when educational leaders operate below their sustainable energy, that discretionary effort, students always pay the ultimate price. You get a tired boss at the top, you're going to have disengaged students all the way through. Um, NEA's research shows that districts with burned out leadership experience 30% lower achievement gains over a 5-year period. So let that be. Yeah, you're looking pretty healthy today, but what is it going to take to keep you healthy, boss? That's maybe another live stream, but every day you delay. Every day you delay transformation, staying in alignment on purpose. You're modeling unsustainable leadership for the next generation of educators. And see if you can name in your head 5 students that walked across the graduation stage last year, class of 2025, that said, I'm going into education. Maybe there were 5. Maybe there weren't 5. Who's going into education today? My kids didn't. I wish they would have. You know, it's a profession that really needs to be rebranded. And we, those on the inside, you need to help to redefine the profession of education, right? We don't need longer summer breaks. I think we need to recalibrate what it's like on the inside in February, right? Your teachers are watching, your community's watching, your students are watching. Everybody's got their eyes on education right now. The question isn't whether you can survive this change that is going to be happening at never heard before, speed. This question is whether you'll be, part of the solution that is redeeming public education, or you continue to be part of the problem that forces parents and other community members to go look elsewhere. And the competition out there. Yeah, it's a buyer's market. But here's what becomes possible. I think when you align with this transformation, you imagine just walking into your next board meeting, if you're a soup or college president, with complete confidence because you have real time insights on student progress, not just compliance reports or having to answer that obed to the local newspaper. Hmm. Just imagine your teachers. They're choosing to stay because they feel professionally empowered, not administratively just buried. I feel bad for the local realtor association because if we do this right, there's not going to be as many teachers that go into selling real estate. Just saying, that's kind of a trend. How about let's just envision your students. They're talking about school as a place where they have actually discovered their potential, not just I got through my junior year. I talked to somebody over the weekend. Yeah, last year I got through my junior year. They told me it was going to be the hardest year. What if you just saw your community just rallying around public education? That trust, distrust, those walls start to melt away because they witness transformation. They don't just hear promises from the stage, they're seeing it happening, right? This isn't Eldo Nova. Life is just a fantasy back in the day. Get that thing stuck in your head. It's what's already happening, folks, in districts where leaders and campuses where leaders are embracing the great sort instead of fighting it, right? The question isn't how do you survive change? The question is how do I lead the transformation that it's going to elevate? It's going to give public education an upgrade to everything that was meant to be. So right now, before the stream ends, I want you to do something that will shift kind of your perspective. And let's do it right now. Take 90 seconds and answer this question. I'm going to give you the time. If AI handled your 3 most time-consuming routine tasks tomorrow at work, let me disclaimer, at work, What would you do with those reclaimed hours? 3 most time-consuming routines. You gave it away, give it away, give it away now. Write that down. Be specific. I'm giving you the time. And while you're writing, I think just your answers are going to reveal whether you're aligned with education's purpose or just surviving its demands. This is maybe the great American smokeout right now. While you're finishing that up, I've got something that might help. It's something I created specifically for educational leaders, just navigating this transformation. Because we have to. I think the all greatness in our system is found in the agency of others. You think about that. Teams. Teams are the ones that are going to change systems. It's not the leader that comes in. Hello, I got vetted. I'm here. I'm your next superhuman leader. No such thing. You get enough of those types of people, the good ones in a room, and that's a team. And greatness is found really in the agency of the team. So how smart is that team of yours? It's a 5-minute diagnostic that will reveal exactly where your leadership team stands. Maybe even in this AI enhanced educational landscape, right? You've got to have a healthy team in order to effectively navigate the craziness of what we are going to endure this year. It's not a personality test. It's a strategic tool it's going to show you kind of what roles AI will enhance versus eliminate within your context. Maybe how to identify and develop your AI amplified professionals and how to build this collective on the inside, but also where to invest resources for maximize student impact. So take the assessment. Also give you access to a free 30-minute strategy session where I'll take a look at the summary report and just give you a heads up to maybe some of your assets, but also some of your liabilities. Right? I'm a firm believer that the leaders who thrive in this transformation are the ones who you're not going to figure this stuff out alone. You're going to raise the whole team, right? So next week's topic, I don't know. I build these weekly streams really based on the stuff that we talk about in my daily virtual coffees. Come on, with system and people leaders in education like you. So if you're interested in scheduling a virtual coffee, we can talk about what's most front of mind for you, maybe a recap of this live stream. You can schedule your free team intelligence assessment, same spot. You can download a white paper on this whole concept called team intelligence that's really taken the educational world by a good storm. Find it on our webpage, all of those things, higherperformancegroup.com. Again, you'll probably see that in the comments linked to this live stream, but Higher Performance Group is the biz.com, higherperformancegroup.com. So just tell me, what's the one thing that you're going to do differently this week based upon what you've learned? Right? If you want to go deeper and want just personalized insight for your leadership journey, let's book some time together. Sometimes the most powerful breakthroughs, they actually happen in just very simple coffee conversations, right? Between leaders and others who understand that you don't have to navigate this craziness all alone. You're not alone, boss. And you have the right choice right now. You can continue to operate with just woo in the air that is going to change quite a bit come early September. Or you can unlock your team's hidden potential throughout the entire year. Yeah, most leadership teams operate at just 60% capacity. That's just the reality. I think you can do better than that, boss. So the 3 signals that would just define your team urgently needs some TQ development for this year ahead. 1, you're making the same decisions repeatedly about anything, including AI integration, without lasting impact, right? You have more committees and councils than you know what to do with, right? Team meetings feel more like individual presentations than collective thinking. Yeah, you could use a nudge. And your best solutions are coming from outside consultants rather than your internal wisdom. Yeah, you could use a nudge. So, if you commit to developing your team intelligence, here's what I promise. I promise, working with hundreds of educational leaders, you're going to make better decisions, right? You're going to have real live solutions to real live problems. You're going to lead confidently this year, and you'll create the kind of educational leadership that makes you and your crew excited for Monday mornings. Yes, that is a thing. And because there's got to be a because. I said mission drives everything for me personally because my because statement, everybody in your community, they deserve you and your team to be extremely healthy, the healthiest people in the room, and building reliable systems. That's my because. Yeah. So your students deserve you, your community member, your parents deserve you not to just have another status quo year. Okay. This could be your breakthrough, boss. So if you found any value just in today's stream, you can subscribe to this. You can have just real talk, educational leadership content coming your way. Your engagement really helps reach more leaders who are navigating the same transformation, preferably not in isolation. Because here's the thing: if this really took hold of you and you want to explore what AI enhanced team intelligence looks like within your specific context, let's just grab one of those virtual coffees. Okay, the link is in the description, and it's completely on me. So, in closing, folks, man, I so appreciate. I see you. I do. I do see you, and I appreciate you. Your work is worthy, very worthy, and I hope you're looking to your students and not how many years you got left in your state's retirement system. That is my hope for you. Um, so remember the great sort. It isn't happening to education. I think it's happening for education. And the question is whether you'll be part of the redemption or part of this resistance. So, coffee's brewing. I think the future's calling. Your choice. Peace, friends. Just know that you are loved.